Hello, welcome to Gardener's World. Now this is a time of year that traditionally is regarded as quite difficult horticulturally. It's a kind of in-between stage. Summer has begun to fade, but autumn hasn't yet warmed up into its rich colours. I don't think this is true at all. I like this time of year because there is a kind of ripeness and fullness. And if it's not always accompanied by every flower that you want, there is still a sense of the season still holding treasures to come. And I like that. This week, Joe visits a walled garden in Northumberland that has been brought back to life by the former MP, Chris Mullen.
I used to sit in the select committee which I chaired, doodling plans.
You can say that now.
I can say it now, I couldn't admit that before.
And Alan Power visits a new place in Stratford-upon-Avon, where a team have been transforming the garden of Shakespeare's home.
It's been over 6 years since work started, and I can tell you the excitement and the upheaval that surrounds preparations for its reopening really wouldn't go amiss in one of his great plays.
And of course, this time of year, it's holidays. And that's great for us, but not so good for our gardens whilst we're away. So I'll be looking at ways of making sure that when you come back, your garden is looking as good as it possibly can. The vegetable garden is coming on well, but the new one has a real vigour, and that comes from fresh soil. And the courgettes, I've loved it. Really good courgette year. I've never seen them so healthy, and of course a mass of fruits. And everybody can get a glut of courgettes, but the secret is to eat them small, rather than becoming great marrows. A, you can use up the amount of fruits much easier, and B, they're much nicer to eat. The squashes and the pumpkins have not had such a good time. That doesn't bode well. We should be by now starting to get some decent-sized fruits so they can grow and ripen, and they hated June and July. It really didn't do them any good, and I don't think there's enough time left to do well. However, this bed, which has celery and celeriac, is doing fine. We've got a green celery, self-blanching, which means that you don't have to earth it up to block out the light. So you never get that perfect white stems and stalks, but you do get delicious celery taste. I'm looking for a knife because I'm going to cut one and taste it. Now, it's not quite ready. I'd normally leave it for another few weeks, but there's no reason why we can't give it a go. Cut it off. You can see these very green stems, and they're not fully blanched, and the way they blanch is the other plants around it block out the light, and that will make them sweeter. But if I just taste one, this is the first celery taste of the year. I read somewhere that you use more energy eating celery than it gives you back, but it's lovely. Slightly bitter, but that's because it hasn't blanched enough. But really good. And of course, distinctive taste. Nothing else replicates that exactly. Although celeriac, which we've got growing here, and it looks like celery, but we don't eat the tops. What you eat is the base there that we want to grow into the size of about a tennis ball. You can get them much bigger. You can buy them from the shops, melon size. But tennis ball size is good. They're hardy, down to about -5. So we tend to harvest these between October and Christmas. But the key to them at this time of year is to keep them watered. Don't let them dry out. Celery or celeriac will start to bolt, and the celery, which I'm finding hard to chew and talk at the same time, will go to seed. So give them a really good soak at least once a week. Another plant that is related to celery and celeriac, but is a lot less common, is this. This is skirrit, and I planted this in spring as a kind of experiment. You see these white umbellifer flowers, they look fantastic, and I'd love to have them in the writing garden. And skirrit is a perennial, so it will flower every year and then die back, and it's the roots that we harvest. Now these are succulent and very sweet. And whilst not many people eat them today, back in Elizabethan times, they were very common because sweetness was really prized in anything, be it parsnips, skirrit or honey, because sugar was expensive and hard to get. Now, talking about Elizabethan times, it is the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth. And the garden at his home, the only house he ever owned in Stratford-upon-Avon, is being restored. And Alan Power went along to see how they were getting on.
It's been over 6 years since work started rebuilding Shakespeare's garden here at his home in Stratford-upon-Avon. And I can tell you the excitement and the upheaval that surrounds preparations for its reopening really wouldn't go amiss in one of his great plays. Shakespeare was 33 years of age when he returned from London in 1597 as a successful playwright. He bought a new place for his family for the huge sum of £120. At the time, it was the largest house in Stratford and a fitting symbol for his wealth and status. The house itself was here on Chapel Street. And the reason there's a big empty space where the building used to be is that 150 years after Shakespeare died, it was demolished by the then owner. The Reverend Francis Gastrell, who lived here, was apparently so sick of Shakespeare enthusiasts knocking on the door wanting to have a look around that he simply knocked the place down. Over the years, several attempts have been made to recreate the garden as it might have been in Shakespeare's time. Some mulberry trees are said to have come from cuttings planted by Shakespeare himself. There's an Elizabethan-style knot garden, and the Edwardians planted yew hedges and a herbaceous border to evoke the bard's presence. Shakespeare wrote some of his most famous plays during the 19 years that he lived here, including Hamlet, Macbeth and King Lear. Now, although the documentary evidence for how the garden looked at the time is quite vague, there are plenty of clues and hints to Shakespeare's interest and passion for nature throughout his works. I know a bank where the wild thyme blows, where oxlips and the nodding violet grows, quite over-canopied with luscious woodbine, with sweet musk roses and with eglantine. Wow, so the knot garden looks amazing, Glyn. Is this the kind of thing that Shakespeare would have seen and would have had in his garden at the time?
We know Shakespeare was gardening here because it says so in the deeds.
Yeah.
But quite what that garden looked like, we're not sure.
Okay.
He would have certainly had orchards here. You'd have been able to walk all the way down to the river. It'd have been growing fruit. There'd have been pigs here. There'd have been cattle. We know he was brewing beer here.
Yeah.
He was gardening here. With him living in London, he would have wanted a grand house here in Stratford with a garden.
A space to really enjoy his home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with such a deep level of history here, Glyn, why did you choose these particular plants for this space?
We've gone for a range of plants that would have historically been used in knot gardens,
Okay.
but we've also introduced in a range of modern plants.
Right.
One of the main contemporary plants we've had to go for is this euonymus, the Japanese euonymus.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah. As you know, Alan, the country's been ravaged by the old box blight.
Yeah.
And this is a really good replacement.
It's a bit of a grower, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you spotted that.
Yeah. It's a really strong form, and the effect you're getting from it is perfect for the knot garden.
Yeah.
Right plant, right place.
Yeah.
So, Glyn, what about within the knots themselves?
We've got a lot of herbs. We've got fantastic lavender angustifoliums, which you've got to smell when you walk by, haven't
it's
you?
fantastic.
We've got thymes, we've
Yeah.
got oregano, we've got centellinas, we've got wormwoods, the artemisias.
Yeah.
And then within the beds that are still to be planted, we're going to be growing edible flowers.
I think it's great working with herbs and looking right back into history and,
Yeah.
and seeing actually functional plants that were used for cooking, put them together and arrange them in gardens like this. And
Indeed.
suddenly your herb garden became a pleasure area for you.
And of course, people hadn't been travelling that much then, so this was the range of plants that they had at their disposal. And what better way to use them in a garden?
The biggest change is at the front of the site, where the footprint of the original house has been incorporated into an ultra-modern, streamlined design. There's been a frenzy of activity here as plants arrived from all corners of the world. Glyn, there's a real contemporary feel to this space, isn't there? You just have to cast your eye along this bed. The plants are literally, as we're here, just getting their roots into the soil. From the lobelias, the heucheras, the lazuli in the distance, very different style of planting, very informally arranged. Why is this space so different to the others?
Shakespeare wasn't afraid to push boundaries. He was changing theatre and literature, and so that's why we decided to do something contemporary. But every single piece of this site has a reflection to the way Shakespeare was occupying the house here and the land and his life. So each of the garden rooms kind of blend seamlessly, almost like they're a different act within a play. Although they are totally different periods in gardening history, they will kind of blend seamlessly into one garden.
And actually, that approach that you've just described is quite theatrical, isn't it? It's like stepping into a theatre.
Absolutely.
It really is surrounded by it.
He based his whole life around the theatre, so it should be flamboyant, it should be gregarious, it should be just billowing with artistic quality and flair.
Now, there's one thing you won't see there, and certainly you wouldn't have seen in the garden when Shakespeare was alive, were tomatoes. They did come over from America around the same time as potatoes, but they were regarded as potentially poisonous and viewed with great suspicion, and they finally filtered into our diet much later. And of course, now we all grow tomatoes. But if you're going on holiday, there's a real chance, particularly if you go away for 2 weeks, that you could ruin all the good work that's led up to this moment. And the thing about tomatoes, from now on, it's all about the fruit. The plant has grown. We've done everything we can to ensure a nice, healthy plant. All your attention should be to maximising the quantity and the quality of the fruit. So there are a number of things you want to do before you go away. First of all, remove any leaves that are obscuring ripening fruit. We want air and ventilation, and the plant will be fine. As long as it's got some foliage, it'll be perfectly okay. You won't damage it. The second thing is to make sure you take out all and any side shoots. And these, of course, are the shoots that grow between the stem and a leaf, and you just go like that. Now, if it doesn't want to come, use a knife, because there's a risk of tearing, and cut it off like that, so you don't damage the plant. And then check it to make sure that everything is nice and secure. And you see, this one here is bending down. Now, if I didn't tie that in, I'm away for 10 days, 2 weeks, that will grow up and could potentially fall and break, and we'd lose fruit. So just go round and tie them up so they're supported. If you can get someone to come in and water them, say once a week while you're away, that's great. If you can't, give them a good soak before you go. Leave the doors wide open so they don't get too hot, and there's plenty of ventilation. Now, it's a good idea to feed them regularly at this time of year. A basic tomato feed is fine. We're looking to feed the fruit, not the plant so much. We don't want a bigger plant, we want more flowers and more fruit. Now, comfrey feed is great, but something I do quite often is I don't even make it into a feed. You pick leaves and you simply place them round the base of the plant, like that, as a kind of leafy mulch. And that does two things. It suppresses weeds and keeps the moisture in, and also very quickly breaks down and feeds potassium into the roots, and that goes into developing really good fruits. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, pick all ripe tomatoes. Eat them if you can, and if you can't, give them to someone who will enjoy them. They're good this year. I'm sowing some salad rocket now, and I shall be sowing this weekend some lettuce, but not just any old lettuce, varieties that will overwinter, like Marvel of Four Seasons, and corn salad is very good too at this time of year. And if you sow now, and it is something you do want to get on and do as soon as you can, these will germinate very quickly at this time of year, and then you can plant them out, and they will give you salad in autumn, into winter, if it's mild, and if it's cold, you can protect them, and then they will start growing again in early spring. And it's a very good way of keeping the continuity of fresh green leaves growing. And just sprinkle the seed thinly onto a seed tray. You can do this direct into soil, but there is a risk of slugs and snails eating the seedlings, so I like to protect them a little bit. You don't need to cover them with soil, just press them down in so there's contact. Label it, water it, and don't let it dry out. And those will grow really fast this time of year, and you will have nice young plants ready to plant out from the seed tray into the garden in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, and that will give you a crop right through, if you're lucky, till Christmas. Now, I've always loved the idea of a walled vegetable garden. There's marvellous Victorian gardens with greenhouses and cold frames and peaches and apricots growing on the walls and rows of perfect vegetables. And Joe has been to visit one, belonging to a politician, Chris Mullen, who was a successful MP, who wrote brilliantly about politics, but all that time hankered after a walled garden of his very own.
Now, behind this stone arch is a walled garden. They are magical, romantic places, and the microclimate within means that you can grow a wide range of plants too. They are every gardener's dream.
This particular gardener is Chris Mullen. After a busy career as an author, journalist and politician, he's now found the perfect antidote to that fast-paced life. And he's agreed to give me the grand tour of his garden in all its current glory.
So where did you get your passion for walled gardens from?
Well, we used to go on holiday in Northumberland, and I noticed there were a lot of abandoned walled gardens around, and I like the tranquility, and I like the challenge, perhaps bringing it back to life again. We've sown wildflower borders. You can see there's a sort of central aisle up there, and we've dotted fruit trees around there, all of which are doing reasonably well. The trouble with the wildflower garden is that it tends to get overwhelmed by the grass.
Because the thing about wildflower meadows is that garden soil tends to be very rich. You know, if it's quite a rich clay soil, and they actually like a really poor soil. So that's why the grasses tend to take over. So there's different ways of dealing with it. First of all, when you mow, you've got to make sure to take away all those mowing clippings. Never feed it. Yeah. And also, you can introduce yellow rattle. Have you heard of yellow rattle?
Yeah, we've got yellow rattle.
You get explosions of it seeding, and then over 2 or 3 years, it'll hopefully take over and wipe out some of the grasses. I like the combination of the wildflowers and the fruit trees. It gives that a real sort of orchard feel.
I collected a lot of poppy seed from last year, and I scattered that liberally around here, but can you see a single poppy? Not one. But there they are, look. They all come up in the vegetable beds.
Yeah, you scattered them here.
I scattered them here, and they decided to come up there.
They look like you planted them in rows.
They do, yes.
They're doing beautifully well.
They're doing wonderfully.
So we're now into your
vegetable garden.
Vegetable garden.
There's 11 vegetable plots. Pink fir apple potatoes, I got several lots of those. I grew some in the vegetable beds, but I also grew some in the clay soil all around the edges, just for the purpose of breaking up the soil, and it has had a good effect.
These roses...
Oh, aren't they wonderful?
Wow, they're really stunning, aren't they? Oh, wow, they're fruity. Very fruity.
Yes.
No
And
doubt
then we've got
about
fruit
it.
trees espaliered around the walls. This is a green grade. It doesn't have many on it this year. It had a huge crop last year. There's another one on the other side that's got a reasonable crop.
It's when we get to the top of the walled garden that I can truly appreciate the thought behind the design.
It's very formal, isn't it? I mean, we've got
Yes.
the layout. It's symmetrical either way.
You can see the picture now. It should be viewed from this end rather than that end. And you've got the roses on either side, and a little terrace here We can have lunch occasionally. The only problem is that tree. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, that's a black cherry plum, the Prunus ceracifera nigra.
Well, my view is it's in the wrong place and it needs to go. Unfortunately, Mrs. Mullen has vetoed its removal.
Right.
But if you were to say on camera that you agree with me that it should be removed, I think that will carry weight.
Oh, right, OK.
So what's your view?
You could raise the crown and really clean up the bottom
Underneath,
stems.
yes.
Yeah, right up to, 15 foot maybe.
Yeah.
And then just keep lifting the crown and you'll get a view through it.
Personally, if it was up to me, I'd bring it down because it's also draining the energy out of the soil in that flower bed.
Yeah.
And the moisture.
That's a bit more work then to do.
That's all right, that's fine, I can cope with that.
Now, here we go. This is sort of a
herbaceous border.
This is herbaceous border.
Now, the soil is much better here, and the old lady who lived here before, who really did know about gardening much more than I do, had been cultivating it for a long time. I suppose one nice thing about a garden is to have different rooms that you, just when you think you've seen the lot, you come to something that you haven't seen before, and I guess that's what happens here.
To give me a sense of the scale of the project he undertook, Chris wants to share some of his photos of the restoration.
Well, this is what it looked like when we first moved here. A fir tree forest. You just make out the outline of the wall at the back. There's me digging.
Ah, there you are.
See, they put in vegetable beds. As you can see, what a mess.
Muddy mess.
What
though,
a mess, eh? This is the terrace where we're sitting now, and that's where the lawn goes down the centre. Then we put in the wiggly paths that go through the wildflower area, which runs along here and along here. And that, I think, 6 months between this and this.
So you got another lovely, lush green lawn.
Yeah.
Major progress, that 6 months.
Big step forward for mankind, yeah.
These just go to show in 3 years that, you've
Yes.
turned that into this, which is a huge step forward for you and your garden. What would you say is the most challenging part of making this garden?
I won't say any of the challenges have been overwhelming. These are the best years of my life.
And is this the garden that you always imagined?
I used to sit in the select committee which I chaired, doodling plans.
You can say that now.
I can say it now, I couldn't admit that before. I looked at many abandoned wall gardens, and they're rather unaffordable or geographically so remote that my wife, quite sensibly as it turned out, vetoed. And in the end, it's worked out brilliantly.
Well, it's a lovely story and it's a fantastic garden. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Good boy, good boy. That transformation from a muddy field where you're desperately trying to dig some sense into it to a lovely garden is always amazing. But here in the Jewel Garden, there's a real transformation, even from May. In May, before the alliums open, it always feels like there's an orchestra tuning up. You can see what's going to happen and you're expecting it, but it certainly isn't there yet. And now, in August, it's as though a full symphony orchestra hits maximum stride. And this is its month, and that will carry on into September, and it's full, and it's rich, and it's voluptuous, and that's what is intended, and that's what it delivers. And one of the plants that never fails me is this buddleia. It's Buddleia weyeriana. It's got these orange flowers, and they will go on flowering long past the Davidii buddleias have finished, right up till Christmas, if it doesn't get too cold. And of course, the butterflies love it. And I often feel at this time of year when there's a little bit more time to look around, that's what you should be. You should be like a butterfly. Float round the garden. Let your eyes alight on plants. Drink deep from them, and then move on. And then when you've finished being a butterfly, you can be busy, because here are some jobs for this weekend. Collecting your own seed is good fun and can save you a lot of money. Use brown paper bags or envelopes and label them clearly before you put the seed in. Plants like foxgloves, simply need shaking into the bag. Don't worry if there's extra chaff in it, because that can be easily sieved out. And either store the seed in a cool, dry place, or else sow it immediately, and the seeds will germinate and produce young plants, which can then be overwintered before growing on next spring. The pea season has come to an end, and any peas left in the pod will be rapidly drying out. So pull them all up, peas and all, and take them to the compost heap. But the ground is ideal for brassicas because they take advantage of the nitrogen that the peas leave in the soil. Summer fruiting raspberries are coming to an end, but autumn fruiting ones are replacing them. And as well as producing lots of fruit, there is masses of new growth. Now this can sprawl everywhere, so it's a good idea to support it to make it easier to pick the berries. It's only temporary, so as long as you use canes that can be banged in firmly, you can wrap string around, adding layers as you need them, just to hold them in place till the end of the season. The mound is now looking good and smelling good. Of course, the sweet peas are wafting their slightly fruity perfume, but added to it now is the Nicotiana sylvestris. And this tobacco plant, with its dreadlock white flowers, soaks up the heat during the day and then releases this oily, musky, rich fragrance that I love. And to sit here in the evenings, bathed in the scent, is becoming a fantastic experience, and that's new to the garden. And it does show that if you've got a new border and your major plants are still very small, put in a mass of annuals and a nice vigorous one like the Nicotiana, and it can look good from the first year. And then next year, the key plants like the roses, like the peonies, will get stronger and they will take over. Although at this time of year, some pots, particularly if they're packed with plants, can be like a sponge, need watering every day. In principle, it's much better to give a pot a really good soak once or twice a week rather than a sprinkle every day. But whatever happens, do keep on top of them. And if you're going away, try and get a friend or a neighbour to come in and water all your pots for you. Now, whether you're going away or staying at home, I shall be here at Longmeadow next time. Till then, bye-bye.